Welcome to Change Lives. I'm Habiba Chevalier, your host, and we have got a fabulous show, Making the American Dream a Reality, featuring my guest, J. Varney Barker. Welcome back, Mr. Barker.
Well, certainly it's my pleasure to be back with you.
And it's our pleasure to have you back. It was an awesome show last time, and I know you've got some great information to talk about with us today, making the American dream of home ownership a reality. I'm excited about that.
I'm as well, and I'm honored to be able to really impart to your audience some very, very key factors that will make them not only successful, but make that a reality for them as well.
So it is a possibility that this can become a reality.
It certainly is.
All right. Well, that's exciting. Don't you think so, Ron?
It's very exciting.
And Ron, thank you for coming back to be with us.
Well, thank you for having me, especially on this show, because I did see the last one when Dr. Varney Barker was on here, and I learned so much. So I'm excited to be here today.
Well,
Indeed.
It's a pleasure to have you come out and be with us, isn't it, Mr. Barker?
It certainly is. I'm in good company this time as
Giving
well.
the power back, and now we're on making the dream of home ownership a reality.
Right.
And that's what it needs to be.
It certainly needs to be.
It certainly needs to come back to being a reality.
Right.
Because we have suffered long enough with the setbacks we've had, as you talked about in the last show with us. And we're going to go right into making that American dream of home ownership a reality.
Right, and I know that there are many individuals who are disillusioned, if you will, and think that in this particular economic environment that home ownership can be a reality. But I'm here to say today that it is very possible if you adapt certain strategies that will make that work for you. The first thing you need to do really is to have a completely different perspective of home ownership, completely redefine what home ownership means for you. Is a home just a dwelling place, or are you going to utilize a home now as a basis for building a strong financial future? If the latter is your goal, meaning the goal is to make home ownership the basis for building a strong financial future, then that becomes the reality that I want you to pursue. And so how do you do that? We talked on the last show about literally taking control, being in control, accepting responsibility for your own home ownership as well as your own success as relates to your own financial condition. If you're able to do that, take that responsibility. And the second thing you want to do is really understand, educate yourself, acquire the basic. I'm not talking about going to college and getting a degree, but there's a basic training that every homeowner needs. If you want to become, for example, a real estate agent, there's continuing education that is required. I believe that every homeowner needs to have some aspect of continuing education because the marketplace changes. And no one is going to tell you that, but that's something that every homeowner needs today.
Well, knowledge is power.
That is correct.
Yeah, I know in your book, The New Rules of Home Ownership for the 21st Century, you talk about the old ways and the new ways.
Right.
Could you kind of elaborate on that?
Well, most certainly, the old way of owning a home, I believe, is a guaranteed prescription for failure. There's just no way around it. If you pursue the old way, there are no mechanism, for example, in the old way to sustain successful home ownership. When you're relying on banks to make financial decisions for yourself, you can make those decisions if you follow the instructions in the book. You rely on a real estate agent to tell you, and a mortgage broker to tell you what you can and cannot afford. You can do those things on your own if you actually follow the prescription in the book as well.
Okay.
So, for example, one of the key things, comparing the old way to the new way is that we talk about the difference between one working with a financial advisor versus working with a real estate agent. And I have no apologies in this regard by suggesting that a real estate agent or mortgage broker is not where a homeowner should start as it relates to the success of and the pursuance of home ownership. You must start with a financial advisor. And why is this important? A financial advisor will be able to evaluate the totality of your financial condition and identify any potential problems that you might have down the line, and hopefully enable the homeowner to have the kind of counteractive strategy to solve problems as they emerge. Right, strategies is extremely important. Now, versus actually dealing with the real estate agent, his goal is completely different. You know, that's to sell your home and get compensated. You know, a financial advisor want to really work with you on the long-term basis to ensure that the totality of your financial condition becomes successful and not just home ownership. So this is just some of the distinctions we have in the book of working with a real estate agent versus a financial advisor. I'd advocate that you start with a financial advisor and you end with a financial advisor. That's why it's called real estate. So it's called real estate and only individuals who have some aspect and understanding of estate planning or estate mechanism can actually handle this particular situation. A real estate agent, a mortgage broker, those individuals are not carved out to do that.
All right. That is very interesting, don't you think so?
Very, very.
Well, my idea of making the American dream of home ownership a reality, I think about a new couple that are going into a life together and plan to have children, raise a family. It's an ideal situation. The American dream, raising your children in a home rather than an apartment, and having the conveniences of home ownership. That's just my idea.
Right, but let me just probably, if I could, for lack of a better vernacular, let me just say if we could stretch that just a little bit. Here's another idea that we could add to that, making that dream a reality. I see, for example, a retired couple who own a home and have actually worked hard for X amount of years and have literally paid off that mortgage so that the risk to home ownership is completely eliminated. That is also an aspect of pursuing the American dream and making that dream a reality. Home ownership is the foundation of the American dream, and one actually should never have foreclosure as a byproduct of pursuing their dream. And that does not need to be if you adapt the strategies that we've outlined in the new rules of home ownership for the 21st century. And I would say to your audience today that the rules have changed. We're not going back to the old way. Everything in the marketplace is changing. What I find pretty interesting at this stage is that everybody, bankers, lenders, mortgage brokers, underwriters, they've all changed the rules, but the homeowner is still pursuing his home in the same old fashion. And it doesn't make sense. That is the definition of insanity. We're not going to succeed, if we continue to pursue home ownership in that regard, and hence have an open mind and look at the kinds of strategies that we've outlined for you in the new rules of home ownership for the 21st century.
So your book is more than a read. It's a plan. It's a blueprint that will give the power back to the homeowner.
You're absolutely correct.
And make them a real homeowner and not just a mortgagee.
Well, actually, if you look on the book, you see where it says owned by owner, just where Mr. Beaver has a finger. It says owned by owner. The end result of the strategies outlined in the book is that you will own your home completely free and clear of any mortgage and begin to build the kinds of financial security and financial independence that you've envisioned for you and your family.
Now that needs to be a reality.
And that certainly is.
Starting with that couple that raised their children in that home and became those retirees.
Right, that is absolutely correct.
Yeah.
And
that's the American dream.
Right, and let me also mention this, that the home is more than just a dwelling place now. It's more than just a place where you rear your children and whatnot.
Right.
It provides you with a lot more than that. A home in today's economic environment would allow you also to literally take that home and transform it into an income generating source. Your home can make you money.
Right.
And for those persons who would actually pursue this, literally you could generate not only an income, but you could also have a massive tax deductions and tax credit, just by managing your home with the methodology that we've outlined for you. Right. So the home then becomes just more than just a dwelling place. As a matter of fact, in the book, there was a new definition. We said that the home must serve two distinct purposes. One, it must serve as a residence, and also it must serve as a stabilizing force within your financial structure. The home must provide both of those. And if you're not achieving both of those, and you're able to determine that early on, you're not achieving the potential for successful home ownership in the 21st century.
And we can learn that through the blueprint that you have laid out in the new rules of home ownership.
That is correct. There is and what I like about this is that there is a model, you know, or the 21st century, what I call the 21st century home ownership model.
Yes.
And you start from point 1 or point A, and by the time you get down to the last part of that plan, you would have gone through asset protection, how you protect your home from potential loss. You have also gone through estate planning. You have gone through the possibility of increasing your income such that if there are anything that were to happen to you and you could not work, you're still able to pay for and pay off your mortgage pretty quickly. You have gone through an inheritance plan. You know, so if you follow that systematically, and what I like most about this is that there's a section on that plan that deals with what I call life after debt. After the debt is all eradicated. We don't want you going out there and having a good time.
Right.
We want to now shift the focus on to investing and now leaving an inheritance for your children's children. For those of us who believe, you know, in Scripture and believe in what the Lord says and what the Bible says, it says that a good man, a good person leaves an inheritance for his children's children.
Right.
So, and home ownership will provide with that. So if you follow the plan that we've outlined, Ron, you're able to go from point A to point Z with the assurance of being able to leave that inheritance for your children's children all through home ownership as we've redefined it in the 21st century.
And that would be making the American dream of home ownership a reality.
Right.
All right, I like it. I certainly like that. Varney, you said that you can make your home work for you instead of you working for your home.
Right.
Okay, tell us about that.
Well, actually, you know, there was a prevailing concept, say, I would say approximately 4 or 5 years ago, where individuals said, and these are from major financial planners and individuals selling books, I believe, just selling books to the public. But I believe that here was the error that said that your home is a liability. It is not an asset. And in the book, I spent an entire, I believe probably about 6 pages refuting and demonstrating why a home is indeed an asset and not a liability. Your home can certainly work for you. And I gave you one of those examples. You know, one is that literally you could transform that home into an income generating source just by incorporating a home-based business. When a home-based business is incorporated within the confines of a home, that home is no longer a dwelling place. It now becomes an instrument that does 2 things for you. 1, it provides you with income, or the possibility of generating an income, and 2, it gives you substantial tax deduction and credits. With those 2, not only are you able to accelerate and or pay off that mortgage pretty quickly, but now you have a basis for building a strong retirement portfolio or just an investment portfolio.
Wow.
So that's one of the ways that your home can work for you and not against you.
All right. So is a home always a risk?
As long as there is a mortgage, there is a risk to home ownership. As long as there is a mortgage, there is a risk to home ownership. Where there is no mortgage, 99.9% of the risks to home ownership is eliminated. Individuals who have had no mortgage in this economy have not seen home ownership loss. As a matter of fact, very rarely would you find an individual who does not have a mortgage to lose a home. So the mortgage is the element, you know, or the catalyst to home ownership loss. One might say, well, income or affordability issues. Well, those issues can be resolved through developing an income strategy as we define in the book. So if one finds himself with inadequate income to sustain home ownership, and I'm talking about just keeping, you know, a home for 5 years, but being able to sustain, maintain, and keep that home over the tenure of the mortgage, that becomes an income question. So we must find ways and means of increasing the income. But ultimately, the risk to home ownership is the mortgage. Address the mortgage, pay off the mortgage as quickly as possible with any savings that you have, and then utilize the mortgage savings to build a strong investment portfolio for you and your family.
What about a home then that is almost fully paid off?
Well, this just really reminds me of an elderly couple that I was talking to just about, you know, a few days ago. Home's almost paid off. One of the partners got extremely ill, and to make a long story short, lost the home with substantial equity in that particular piece of property. You know, so if my recommendation, or my suggestion is that if that home is almost paid for, then accelerate paying off that home as quickly as possible. But more importantly, if you've acquired and achieved substantial equity in a home, and equity simply means the difference between what you owe on a home and what the home is actually worth. So if the home is worth $100,000, you only owe $20,000 on that home. Do not maintain or keep that property in your own name. That is a risk to home ownership. So even if a home is almost paid off, it is at substantial risk. If you got sued, guess what happens? They go directly after the home because you've got equity.
Oh.
The strategy to protect, and that's what we cover asset protection in the strategy, is to move that property out of your name so that the home is then isolated from the possibility of lawsuits and whatnot.
That makes a lot of sense. So you talk a lot about a strategic plan, coming in to win.
You're coming in to win. I like that. You're absolutely coming in with the mindset to win at home ownership, not taking unnecessary, uncalculated risk. You're coming in from the onset, but more importantly, not only coming in for those persons who want to become home buyers, but those persons who also own a home. In the book, there is an entire, what I call the home ownership life cycle, and there's a series of
whatever
tests.
Part you're
there
in.
you go.
Yeah.
Whatever part you're in, you would identify a strategy, you know, that will allow you to either correct or improve. You know, so if you read the book, and if you go in there, look at the, and I suggest that everybody do that, look at what we call, you know, that particular aspect, you know, the home ownership life cycle.
Because a lot of people need mid-course correction.
There you go. I like that. A lot of folks need mid-course correction. Where do we do at this point? You know, you've made certain mistakes here. And what I like about it is that you can go back and fix, you know, what the problems were, and then begin to move forward here, you know, by limiting the risk. So this particular aspect of the book would address those persons who already own a home, and that is, you can now maximize the full benefit of your home, and those persons who are coming into home ownership will be able to avoid the pitfalls, you know, that would be associated with home ownership loss and whatnot.
So, Mr. Barker, what are the top myths of home ownership in today's society?
Well, one of the top, I mean, I would identify three of those. One is that a job is essential for successful home ownership. And I know there might be a multitude of individuals who would disagree with me, but I would say that indeed is a fallacy. It's wrong. A job is not essential. Income is essential. A job is unstable. And home ownership plays such a pivotal role in your financial structure that you dare not rely on a job to sustain a home. You could lose a job today or tomorrow. You could get sick.
Absolutely.
You need an income strategy. So an income plan is more important to the sustenance of home ownership than a job is. You must develop ways and means, and that's what we talk about, transforming at home into a wealth-creating, income-generating asset. So that's the first myth, is that a job is essential. Now, what I suggest in the book is that, yes, utilize a job, you know, for the purpose of qualifying for a home, but the moment that happens, you know, adapt principles and ideas that will allow you now to increase your income so that you're not relying on that job to sustain your home. It's a terrible risk.
Right, because if you lose the job, then you kind of don't know what to do because you're dependent on it.
Right, you're completely dependent on it. And that's why in the entire strategy, you know, as you go down the list of the 21st century home ownership model, one of those strategies calls for creating an income for a lifetime. And we take you step by step through that process. How do you create that income so that your home, you know, the possibility of being successful.
That was my next question.
Right. How do you create that income?
Yes.
Right. The how-tos, you'll find that in the book. But the second thing that I want to go over is that a 15 or 30-year mortgage, you know, will be essential to successful home ownership, and that is, again, also wrong. You must, and it's what we call the term of a mortgage. You got a 15-year mortgage, you got a 30-year mortgage. Again, taking that element of control back is that you do not necessarily have to have a 15-year mortgage, have to have a 30-year mortgage. Whatever you define your mortgage to be, if you want to pay it off in 5 years, that becomes a 5-year mortgage.
So is that a reality, or can that be a reality?
It certainly is, because one of the goals, for example, most individuals are not aware that they have what I call just wasted money here and there. You know, a cup of coffee here every day, you know, pack of cigarette here. So let's assume that you needed an extra $250 to accomplish the principal objective of liquidating or paying off your mortgage. Well, you might not even realize that you might be able to just identify, ways where you have wasted funding that can then be applied towards that mortgage to accomplish your objective. And that's one of the first things we recommend you do, is to speak with a financial planner, a financial advisor.
Right.
Have he or she identify for you, whatever savings you could realize for the purpose of accomplishing some of the financial goals that you have. And then the third myth, I would say, is that it is important or essential to rely on the so-called experts, relying on a real estate agent, relying on the bank and whatnot to make those principal financial decisions for you. And that, again, as far as I'm concerned, is a no-no. You start with a financial planner, have them evaluate your financial situation, determine whether home ownership is even the appropriate thing for you to do at this point in time, or see whether home ownership has either a positive or a negative impact on your financial condition. Those decisions can only be made, by working with a financial advisor and a financial planner. Now, once that decision is made, now you have the option of making a determination as to whether you should work with a real estate agent at a point in time for the purpose of finding a home. But that ultimate decision must be made by you in consultation with a financial advisor, because the objectives of these two individuals are completely different. One is a salesperson.
Right.
Is he actually advising you, or is he selling you? It's just selling you. I mean, and I believe that people are waking up now, given what happened, in the marketplace today. They're beginning to wake up here now and be able to do. Are you sold on the issue, or is he there to make certain that the construct of that whole financial activity here benefits you ultimately?
Okay. Okay. So
yes,
those myths are very intriguing, that because a lot of people feel like they got to have that job, but it's the income.
It is the income that is more important. When you go to apply for mortgage,
even more than one stream of income.
That is correct.
You mentioned home-based business,
right?
For example,
right. That's one of those, and there are others that you can do. But let me give you another example. There are things that homeowners can do right now to put some money in the pocket and increase their income. For example, you've had property value decline throughout the country. Properties there had a value of 100,000, properties worth about 60,000. But guess what? Majority of individuals are not aware that they're still paying taxes on the old value. So your home had $100,000 value. Well, it's declined to 60, but you're still paying property taxes on 100,000. Well, every homeowner today needs to go down to the property assessor office and begin to challenge that and get a reduction, in the property. That would put some money in your pocket quite immediately. And that's one of the points that homeowners can begin to realize.
Mr. Barker, this is so interesting. Let's give our viewing audience some contact information.
Well, the best way to reach me is through my website, and it's jvarniebarker.com, and that's initial J, VARNIEBARKER.com is the best way to get a hold of me. I'm also available to churches and other organizations. I provide services completely free of charge. For me, this is a passion to actually utilize my skills and experiences now to help the American homeowner overcome and win in this new market environment of
Give us a phone number and how we might be able to
best phone number to get a hold of me would be 615-879-6551 would be the best number to get a hold of me for now.
All right. That is totally awesome. Ron, how can we contact you?
Well, I'm still thinking about, Jay, new rules of home ownership for the 21st century. And I have read the book, and when you get to chapter 9, it just brings it home. And it's so much, it's a wealth of information and instruction that teaches you in so many ways how to, use your home as like you said, your home is an asset and it's not a liability.
Right.
And I just thank you so much. But my information, you can find me on Google, Metropolitan Services, on a company called Metropolitan Services. Website design will be right on top if you go to Google and search Metropolitan Services. Thank you so much for inviting me on. But this book is amazing. It's a wealth of information. Is there anyone that could not benefit by having that book?
I would say no. As a matter of fact, our attorney suggests to us that it's now the homeowner's Bible. That every home in
I believe it.
Every home needs to have your book.
It has tools in it. It's a plan. It's a blueprint, but that's just the first book in the series. Is that correct?
That is correct. There are 3 books in the series.
Okay.
The first book, New Rules of Homeownership for the 21st Century. The second book is the Ultimate Foreclosure Recovery Plan. You know, it gives you a complete blueprint for recovering back from foreclosure, those persons who lost home for foreclosure. And then the last book is the New Rules of Career, Income, and Employment for the 21st Century.
Wow.
And that book addresses the income issue that we talked about. So those are the 3 books.
Okay, so we need all 3 books.
Indeed.
jvarneybarker.com.
jvarneybarker.com. Okay. Well, Mr. Barker, do you have any closing remarks for our viewing audience?
Right. It's very simple, is that we're now inaugurating the National Homeowners Alliance, and I believe that is an organization whose time has come. There's a need to bring all 75 million homeowners under one umbrella for the purpose of advocating, defending, and protecting their interests. So if you really think that this would benefit you, giving clout and power back to the American homeowner, I want you to join the National Homeowners Alliance, and let's begin to make a difference in the lives of homeowners throughout these United States of America.
Okay, Ron, any closing remarks?
Well, I'm backing him up, jvarneybarker.com.
All
and
right.
can we sign up on the website?
Yes, when you get to the website, we're still building the National Homeowners Alliance, building just from the grassroots, but just send us a quick email that I'm interested in, becoming a part of the National Homeowners, and there's a panoply of benefits that you would have coming your way.
Well, this is certainly exciting, and we have run out of time. And we're going to have to do show number 3.
And I thank you so much for inviting me on once again. I'm so blessed every time I have a chance to come on your show. And I know you have a heart for people. You have a heart, just like the name of the show is Change Lives. You bring people on, such as Jay Varney right here, that also has a heart to help our listening audience out there to change their life, because making the American dream of home ownership a reality is something that's very needed, and it seems far-fetched for so many people out there in today. And
it brings back hope.
It does.
Right.
Yes.
That is absolutely correct.
Yeah, it's just a beautiful thing. You got to have to come in with a plan to win, right, Jay?
Right, that is correct.
We are out of time, gentlemen. We're going to have to come back again. I want to give thanks to God for this show, for our viewing audience out there, for you, Mr. Barker, for coming on the show today, and you, Ron, thank you for coming on. Giving thanks to my crew. They're doing an awesome job.
They really are.
James is just doing a great job out there, and Mario Coleman, I just thank him for being out there making this possible. We just thank you. We love you for inviting us into your home. Continue to watch Change Lives with the great shows that we have, bringing the great guests that we bring, such as Mr. Barker here.
Thank you.
And we just love you. Jesus loves you. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not upon your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct your path.
Yes, he will.
Thank you.
Amen.